It's good to see you guys! Last week we talked about Daniel, who got in trouble for his faith. Today, we will talk about another Bible character who also got in trouble because her people believed in God. Any guesses on who it is? Let's find out if you're right. Please open your Bibles to Esther chapter 4, verses 5 to chapter 5, verses 1 to 5, and we will go to chapter 7, verses 1 to 10. There was a beautiful young Jewish woman named Esther. She was adopted by her cousin Mordecai after she was orphaned. However, God had big plans for Esther. One day, King Xerxes issued an order to bring all the beautiful young women to him so that he could choose a new queen. When he saw Esther, he was attracted to her the most. So he set a royal crown on her head and made her queen. However, for her own safety, Mordecai told Esther not to reveal that she was a Jew while in the king's palace. Now, there was a leader named Haman who was just promoted to a high position, and everyone he saw while walking outside bowed to him. Mordecai, however, did not bow. This made Haman mad. He then proposed to the king that the Jews be destroyed because of their different God and beliefs, and Xerxes approved. When Mordecai found out about this plan, he was troubled. Esther heard that Mordecai had been weeping around the city, so she called for him to find out why. When Mordecai told her of Haman's plan, Esther decided to talk to the king. Now, no one can enter the king's court without being told, or they will be killed. The only exception is if the king holds out his golden scepter. Esther knew this, but decided to risk it because the Jews were in danger. 3 days after this, Esther visited the king's court. When the king saw her, he was pleased and held out his scepter. Esther did not die. She then invited the king and Haman to a banquet. During the banquet, King Xerxes asked why Queen Esther invited them. She then asked the king to spare her and the Jews' life, and said that they had been sold to be killed. This angered the king, and he said, "Who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such thing?" Queen Esther replied, "An adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman." Haman was terrified before the king and queen. The king got up in a rage and went out. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther sat. This made the king even more mad, and they covered Haman's face. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, "A pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had set it up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." The king said, "Impale him on it." So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai. Then the king's fury subsided. What an interesting story! Let's try to understand it more by answering these questions. Number 1, why did Haman wish to destroy the Jews? Number 2, during the banquet, what did Queen Esther reveal to the king? Number 3, How can we trust God for the courage we need to do big things like Esther?